As progressives, I think it's time that we assert a proactive foreign policy agenda that stands for what I think a lot of us believe to be the imperative of U.S. foreign policy going forward. Find ways to exercise smart diplomacy and smart influence in the world while leading with something other than the sword. And I just offer one example of how we can do this. This week, the World Food Program announced that it had effectively run out of money to supply food benefits to the hundreds of thousands of Syrian refugees that are living in places like Turkey and Lebanon and Jordan, as well as the Syrians who are struggling to survive inside that conflict-ridden country. The response from the U.S. government was, well, we've put up a lot of money already, and so it's up to our partners, our other nations, to put up the rest of the money. And, you know, there's some truth to that. The U.S. has been the most generous donor to the World Food Program. We've certainly done our part, and other countries should step up to the plate. But it exposes a double standard of American foreign policy. When we launch a military campaign, we don't do just our part. We do whatever it takes. We allocate every dime necessary to carry out our military objective. Then we go try to find other partners who will fill in or help share the burden. But when it comes to humanitarian assistance, we're only willing to do our part. And if there's a gap, that's somebody else's fault. The reality is that the amount of money that it costs to fire 20-some-odd Tomahawk missiles on one day in September equals the amount of money that it would cost to continue to feed every single Syrian refugee living outside of that country for the rest of the year. And we just have to ask ourselves, what matters more to American security? What's more important? One day of missiles being fired at ISIS inside Syria, or being able to feed hundreds of thousands of hungry refugees who, if they don't get a square meal, if they aren't able to hold their lives together, are going to turn to ISIS, either as a source of cash or as a protector? I think the answer is pretty obvious.